Up everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today we are building a WebGIS without writing a single line of code ourselves. We'll let AI write the code. I think you'll be surprised with just how much we can actually build and do while typing in plain English, but still writing the full stack web app code without actually writing it ourselves. So I don't have to write a single line of code, but I'll have AI do that for me. So my idea of building a simple WebGIS like a map with a pencil and some tools, functionality, etc. I just implemented it in a very concise way. I asked AI to essentially create a prompt for the developer to take into account all of the functionality, all of the logic, all of the frameworks it needs. That prompt I will now paste in here, and this essentially takes into account all of the core features. So we have this as a prompt, so React, TypeScript, leaflet. Take into account, I barely know what these things are, right? But because AI, more specifically O1, could help to use chain of thought and actually think through what a logical structure and a logical combination of frameworks would be to build this, I could create a very nice, proper prompt with all of the functionalities that I need. So Tailwind, Zustand, React, Lucy, or requirements, which technically this part kind of comes from my own idea, but it's looking very nice so far. So this is the prompt that we'll give it. And what Bold.new does, which is an app that can literally code for you, is this. I mean, I can explain it, but you kind of see what's happening. I just gave it a prompt in plain English, and immediately it starts to develop. So it's running our code in TypeScript, because, well, that's what I asked for. And it's installing the dependencies, it's creating everything. And it's not just running the code, it can also show us the preview of what we just built and thought of. Now in Bold.new we also have options to download that code and open it in StackBlitz or deploy it. So it's not like this code is just containered in this app. Take into account you cannot unlimited use this app, obviously, so you would need a paid subscription after you did a few prompts, I believe, but either way, you can use this for free for a few prompts as well. As you can see, we first get an error, so we'll just quickly have to fix that as well. I think it forgot to install one of the dependencies. Now take into account I'm not doing much right, like I wrote one prompt, which I even had AI write, and I copied and pasted the error message, and now it will start working. Seems like we got a response back with a 520. I'll just quickly check that as well. Now let's see what's next. I mean, I'm impressed. What can I say? Up next, we have the chain of thought that the AI had, the implementation of the functionality that it should have, or supposedly would have. Either way, we don't have that just yet. Fix this too. There's still a bit of debugging to do by just literally copy and pasting the error messages. So that's a bit of a shame. Either way, it will be really cool as soon as we see what this app is actually capable of and the preview of our app. Because, well, I'm not writing code, I'm building something just of an idea. And that's the very cool thing about this, right? Like, I have an idea, and I just can implement it by giving that idea to AI, and it will just quickly show me, cool, this is what your idea could possibly look like. What would you like to tweak? And I very quickly have a first version, or maybe even an MVP of my idea. Seems like we have to debug even more. Shame. And it also seems as if my tokens are running out. I do have the pro plan, but you can actually get a free plan or a plan that fits your needs. It's a few bucks a month. Another debugging to do. Usually it works in the first run, I must say, so it's still impressive that it can do this. Shame it's taking a few iterations before it works this time. Another problem to fix. Well, I just gave it 2 prompts and I clicked the button a few times. That's about all. I'll see what's next. I don't even know what it's fixing right now. I'm barely even reading the text, to be honest. Take into account if you're actually reading the text and actually checking for what it is doing, you are very quickly learning about development, different frameworks, GIS, and you can also ask the AI questions as to what it is doing, and you just grow in the technology very quickly. You also grow in the prompt engineering, so like the information you give to AI, the tasks you give to AI very quickly. So that's very interesting as well. So make sure to actually read it and not do what I do right now. Either way, it seems like we have a few draw options, a delete button, settings, layers, and a location search bar, which isn't implemented that nicely, but we'll take it. Either way, let's see if we can actually draw something. Nope. Oh, shame. The primary use case of bold.new is really just developing your MVP, right? So if I have an initial idea, I can open bold.new, I can tell it what my idea is, and it will quickly show me or draw up a mock-up really of what that could possibly look like. Now, if you want to properly implement it, and it would actually need to work properly, be tested for bugs, whatever, you probably would have to get an actual developer to do it. And you can also use Cursor if you are a professional developer and post your code or edit your code in there. So we have, this is pretty much an alternative to Visual Studio Code for those of you who are familiar with that. What we have in here are just our files, so I can actually have multiple files that are on my PC. I have my file paths right here, so these are also folders that I can put the files in. I have folders or files right here that I can edit the code in. But even in here, I've barely even written a line of code because, well, what did I do? I used the composer, like the Copilot with 3.5 Sonnet, which is a AI model basically that can help you magnificently. Like, I ask it to edit something, it will read which files it has to edit, and it will remove the columns it no longer needs or the rows it no longer needs and implement new ones. So it's very awesome as well. So if you are looking to do something more advanced, you probably would want to have Cursor. So I'm also building a little application like this, Mapify, and it will essentially be a way to upload Excel spreadsheets and display them on the map. That's what I'm building right now. So even this UI, I mean, I'm not a web designer, it's built with AI, just by my descriptions, my plain English descriptions, and that's how quickly and easily you can implement it really. It's pretty amazing. Anyways, going back to the main point, and that's my little side project. I was just showing you what you can do with Bolt and, well, AI in general, in terms of coding really. So what we have right now is that same UI and that same display, which already looks pretty neat, pretty alright. With the location bar still not in the right place, but obviously I didn't prompt it to change anything about this, so that's fine. We have working zoom buttons. We have hopefully a working draw segment. Nope, I don't think it's working yet. So that's something we can prompt it to do. Cool, we'll have to fix that. And let's start it as well. Okay, now also make sure you fix all of the draw tools so that they actually work. And make sure that you can see the search bar properly by not having it behind the layers. Preferably check all of the models and toolbars on the display. Remove settings. So why do we need the settings? Don't display any toolbar or action on top of another. This is a pretty simple plain English prompt that I just didn't have to really think about too much, that I'm just writing right off the top of my head. And it will quickly implement this for us as well. So we're 10 minutes in and we already have a drawable map tool basically, at least if it's working now after this prompt. Either way, that's pretty impressive. Now this code is not containered in here. I don't know if I've talked about that already, but we can download this code, we can open it as templates, or we can deploy it in like Netlify or any other hosting platform that you would like to use. So, well, in 10, 20 minutes, maybe 30 minutes of time, you can actually have an MVP launched. That's how quickly it is. That's how quick it can be, at least. Now, that does require you to prompt it very well, which, I mean, I didn't even prompt it that well right now. But that is something that you can definitely do a lot with. Now, let's see if we have our draw on our map tool already. Let's see if this one works. So the UI is looking decent, like it has no color or anything. It's not really distinctive, but it looks nice. It looks alright. Again, draw point. Don't know if I can close this. Maybe with escape. Yes, escape. Okay. Next, we can draw a line. Hopefully. Yes. Okay, the double click. Is it the double click? Escape, yes. Okay. You would expect after a double click for it to actually stop drawing. That's not implemented now. So that's kind of the main thing with AI, right? Like, it can build a decent UI. And I think if you would use cursor and you use the composer option with Claude 3.5 Sonnet, you would get pretty far. You would get a pretty decent UI overall. Like, it would actually think about it a little bit better than Bolt. I don't know which AI model Bolt uses on the backend, but obviously, like, the UI, a human is going to be better in building the UI. But if you're using AI as a co-pilot and you build the MVP with AI, then we can obviously just tell it how we want the AI or the UI. Sorry, it's very easy to make a error there. But the UI, we can ask AI to implement a better UI by describing, hey, if we place the last point in this draw mode, we want it to close the draw mode, right? Like, that will make sense instead of clicking escape. At least that's the UI I would expect. But kind of depends on where you're working with. And I don't know what this button does. It says edit features, but I don't think that does anything yet. And then we can delete features, which also doesn't really seem to do much yet. But we do have at least, well, a working app. I mean, is it perfect? No, it's far from perfect. But this is what we built in 13 minutes. And I think that's pretty impressive either way. You know what, while we're at it, I'll just quickly try and fix the last issues. See if we can make it look better. Make the draw UI better, so that a double click closes the draw action. Make sure the delete button is no longer implemented twice, only in the toolbar, and make sure that one actually works. Also make sure to implement functionality for the edit features bar or tool, so we can edit the ID of each object we drill. I want to be able to export everything as a separate layer as well. Singular layer as well as a GeoJSON, let's say. Remove the layers panel. It's just going to be a draw tool, I guess. Kind of like GeoJSON.io. That's basically what I built right now. This tool. And this is definitely a slightly more advanced, but obviously this is built by humans and not by AI in 15 minutes. But this essentially does the same thing. And when I double click, it also closes the operation, so it makes a little bit more sense. You can also edit the features, but I can edit the features in terms of geometry. I'm now implementing it so that I can edit features in terms of ID, so like the attributes on the features rather than the features itself, really. You can save them as well, and we can export this too, so save the files in GeoJSON, etc. This is basically, I built a mock-up version of this in 10-15 minutes. Probably 10 minutes if I didn't continuously talk and pause over it. But obviously we need to make a good video with some explanation, so that's what we're doing. Remove the layers panel, and I think that's about it. Also make sure that the UI of all of the buttons is the same style, and make it a little more fancy in terms of color. And add a logo header for the tool with a name. And I don't even have much inspiration for a name in this case, but we'll see what it does. And we could obviously also implement functionality for uploading data. Exporting data is something that I'm asking for now. But either way, we're building something decent. At least in 15 minutes, it's something decent. It's a new functionality, really. So if you're working for a software company, you can implement a new functionality in about 15 minutes without writing a singular line of code. Especially if you can prompt engineer everything well. Because right now, I mean, obviously I didn't prompt engineer things very well. If you have experience with coding, you would definitely be better off with seeing what could possibly go wrong. So you would also be slightly better, arguably, at prompt engineering than I would be. Or you would just be a bit more effective in identifying problems and why things work or don't work. Which would also make you a better prompt engineer, to be honest. Now, this is something that is a bit of a shame, but make sure the location search bar is on the top right. So quickly fix that. Should be easy. Shouldn't take that long at least. There we go. Change the position classes, adjusted the top spacing, and maintain the same styling. Seems fair enough. It implemented a nice little header bar with a title and a logo. Could obviously ask it to include my social media links and everything as well, on my GitHub links. Could do a lot of things so that people could find me if I was to implement this or launch it. And we can draw points, we can draw lines. But there is a potential problem identified. We can hopefully draw circles. Yes, that makes sense. Polygons. We cannot edit the features yet. And now I would still have to test if we can actually export the features. But we're 20 minutes in and we have a draw your map tool basically, so that's pretty cool. Let's see what it is building now. It seems to be updating and debugging our drawing tools issue, and it's fixed the initialization cleanup, improved the UI layout, enhanced the error handling, and fixed the delete functionality. Plus, for some reason, it changed the layout, but that's fine. Not too bad at that. Let's see. Can we draw a point? Yes. Can we draw a line? Yes. Oh, and it's actually got the same color styling as well. At least, seems like it. Cool. We can draw a polygon. Yes. Can we draw a circle? Yes. And it takes into account the projection. So it's not fully circular since, well, Earth is not flat, guys. Sorry. Oops. At least maybe it is. Who am I? Who am I to tell you? At least it's not fully flat. So for obvious reasons, the circle will be perfectly circular. That's the one thing I do know for sure. It's not fully flat, at least in the sense that there's elevation. We'll see. Maybe one day we'll find out. I've not been to space yet, so can't tell. Maybe Elon knows. Cool. Points, lines, polygons, circle, edit feature. Let's hope it works. It doesn't seem like it. Sad. We can delete features. Nope. Can we export them? Yes. That's very cool. Now we're 20 minutes in, and we just need to fix the edit features and the delete button. So let's fix that while we're at it. Just make sure to fix the delete button to clear all at once. Edit features so that when I click an object, I can edit the information/ID attribute and get that in the file. Sorry for the poor English. Get it in the file I am exporting as well. In other words, I want that information back. I use SID back information/ID attribute and let's say and a comments attribute and get that in the file I'm exporting as well. In other words, I want that information. I use SID back and that should be it. But let's also implement one more thing. Also implement a zoom to objects button. Cool. So 23 minutes in and we've built a map draw tool. So I mean this is impressive enough. It's impressive enough. You see, the one cool thing about it is that it is going to be fully functional. So in other words, I genuinely did build an alternative to GeoJSON.io, but it's just not as advanced, obviously. And it's not using a blob, but it is using a flat map. Maybe they know something I don't. Either way, I think my UI looks nicer. I must be honest. Like, I think the UI that AI implemented here already, even though it's definitely missing a few buttons and features, looks nicer than the UI here. Like, for example, the base maps. And we can actually use the auto projection as well. That is nice. In the base maps that it's implementing or using, the way that this is displayed, I don't think it looks that nice. It's functional, but I don't think it looks nice. And these buttons, even these buttons, I think look worse. Now this does have a feature for editing geometries. It also has a feature for copying to clipboard, so it's just a bit of a different way of thinking, really. I think we can, if I was to actually keep developing this for 1 or 2 more hours, we would have a solid alternative to this. Anyway, going back to the main point, let's see if it did indeed fix what we had to fix. So we implemented a zoom to features functionality, feature properties panel to edit ID and comments. Let's check that first. Awesome. That's really cool. That's really cool. So let's say enter feature ID 1 comments. Very cool. I don't know how it's going to save this, but supposedly it will. Now if I select this, I should be able to edit the feature. I think it just takes the last feature, to be honest. I'll take it. And now let's try this. Point here, and then zoom to it. Nice, that works too. Awesome. Obviously, I think there's still a few bugs to fix here. It's not perfect, but it's alright. And we can export it quite easily as well. One more thing that I would like to see if it did indeed give us the ID back. So let's enter something here. 1, 2, download that again. Doesn't seem to be a bigger file, so I don't think it does. Let's open this in my notebook. It is GeoJSON. There's not much information stored on it. That's a shame. Either way, I hope you see the value of using bolt.new, at least for prospecting or building a first version to your application. I hope you see the value of AI altogether in building apps like this. One more thing I want to say is you can definitely use cursor as soon as you get stuck on something with Bolt. Like the problem I would have next with this app, for example, is what GeoJSON does. Save your session. So if I open this, it's going to recover my session. Still, I don't think the UI looks that nice, but that's another discussion. So it's reopening this app. It's reopening this session. App session with the data that I drew. So that's something you will need a little bit of backend for. So in that case, you would definitely need to use cursor and a nice app that actually works, or a nice place to host your backend and your frontend as well. So you would have to think about that. But once again, you can ask AI, so there's not much holding you back here. Either way, we still have some bug fixing to do. I may or may not implement a version of this and launch it as well. But I hope this has been a valuable video to just show you the potential of AI and coding yourself, because, well, I'm technically developing an app now, so without any coding experience. So I hope this has been inspiring at least, and I hope to see you in the next video.